Hi, I'm Charisse.
And I'm Holly.
And thank you for tuning in to our Ask Mom series. Today we're going to be talking about self-harm.
Right. And honestly, neither one of us have personal experience with
Correct.
this. So I always think it's good to say that up front. We get lots of girls that write to us about it, so we have a deeper understanding today than we did a year ago. I'm amazed at how common this is.
Right.
How much it happens, what a silent war is going on with this, where it's not discussed, it's kept very private, it's hidden, it causes a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and it is terrifying, I think, for girls to talk about it because there is so little understood by most adults today about self-harm, why it happens, why people do it.
Right, exactly.
And what self-harm is really is a coping strategy for pain. So
right. Emotional pain.
Yeah. So you have situations in your life that are unresolved. You have pain in your life that's unresolved. And there's lots of different ways that people cope with pain. And one way that some people do is with self-harm, which is cutting, hurting yourself on purpose, scratching, burning, whatever method it is that that person chooses. And
I think cutting's probably the most common, I would say.
It seems to be the most common.
Mm-hmm. The way that people are dealing with their emotional pain is dealing with a physical pain, but it's really in your brain, it's the same thing. It's an emotional response.
The thought is that as they're cutting or hurting themselves, in that moment, there's adrenaline is released in your body, which causes sort of a euphoric experience that allows you to bypass the emotional pain that you have. And it does really feel, apparently, like a release of the pain, the emotional pain. And so...
But it's so temporary.
It's so temporary because none of the issues have been dealt with.
Right.
All it's done is made you feel better for a few minutes.
Chocolate will do the same. And it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, a good friend yelling into a pillow. There are lots of ways that you can do it. But it is, it's a cry for help. It certainly is. I mean, someone has to be under extreme duress to want to hurt themselves in this sort of way in order to climb out of the emotional pain that they're in.
Well, the sad thing about it is, yes, it's a cry for help, but they're not letting anybody see it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they need the help, but a lot of times people cut in places that other people can't see, so you don't know if they're cutting, you don't know if they're hurting,
I think it is about control as well. If your circumstances or your emotional life feels out of control, you having the control over how you release that pain, in what way you release it, and how desperately you release it is giving you control. And it's also a distraction, right? For a few minutes, the emotional pain, you're not focused on that, you're focused on the pain that you have, the physical pain that you can see. If it continues and it goes on, the self-harm goes on, the emotional pain isn't dealt with, what I hear a lot from girls is that you just become numb. You start to question if you're even alive, that you can't feel anything. And so the act of cutting then becomes a reminder that in fact you are still alive. And that's not the way teenagers should live. That's not the way anyone should live.
And there's people to help you.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe if you don't see that there's somebody out there that wants to help you, then you try to help yourself. And helping yourself, cutting or self-harming is not the way to handle it.
No. And this isn't something you're going to outgrow.
No.
It's not something you do for a little while you're a child. If you develop a coping mechanism, that stays with you for life until you get help. If it's something you feel compelled to do, you wish you could stop, you can't seem to stop, it's now become an addiction and a coping mechanism that is going to continue. So you need to get professional help in order to step out of that. Right? And if you're a friend of someone who's self-harming, you could listen to them. You could, if you think maybe they are but you don't know, you could just in a really loving, private place ask them, don't do it in front of a bunch of other friends.
Right.
I wouldn't even necessarily bring another friend to ask. I would have it be probably a one-on-one conversation and just say, I'm really worried about you. It doesn't seem like things are okay. It seems like maybe you need some help, and I would really like to listen if you could trust me with whatever it is. And if they're not forthcoming about saying it, you could offer or say, I'm a little bit worried that maybe you're self-harming. And it may just be the one moment where they see, oh my gosh, there's no judgment on my friend's face, and
Right.
I can see that they really just care about me and they just want to know so they can help me. And it may be the first time they're able to speak it out loud, that that's something that they do. Or you can tell that person, when you're ready to talk to somebody about it, I'd go with you. I could help you speak the words. I could help you find someone to talk about it. That's a great way to be a friend.
Yeah.
You could go on and do a Google search or do something on a search engine and say hotline for people that are self-harming in your area, whatever country you live in or whatever state you live in. And there's usually 800 numbers and they're all anonymous, and it's just a starting place. It's just, you call, they can't identify you. You say, this is what's going on. I don't know what else to do. And they've all been trained to be able to help you.
Right.
Or they're there just to keep talking to you. If you feel like you really want to cut that night, but you don't want to cut, then you call them. And if it's 2 a.m, if it's whenever it is,
24 hours.
24 hours, you just talk with them and you just say, this is how I feel. I really don't want to cut. Help me talk me through this. And then they'll stay with you until you feel better.
And if you feel that you have a friend that you've noticed is cutting, and you don't know how to approach them or what to say to them, you could call one of the hotlines and say, look, I think I have a friend that's doing this. What are some ways that I can help them, see that it's not good for them or healthy for them, and how do you think I should approach them?
The basic thing you want to get across to a parent or an adult you talk to is, that you feel depressed, that you have a lot of emotional pain, that sometimes you act out against yourself and harm yourself because of it, and that you really want to get some help. And your doctor is someone you could go to, your school nurse, hotlines online, any trusted adult in your life. And sometimes it's helpful to know, how will these resources help you? They'll help you just sort of think through the pain in your life with good tools for handling it so that it's just not something that's always a big cloud over you, but you have some other coping mechanisms other than self-harm.
There's a lot of people that deal with depression and that deal with issues that are difficult in their lives that don't self-harm because they've maybe seen professional counselors and have been given the tools to be able to handle those situations. And that's all you need. You just need the tools.
So the negative ways that it impacts your life is that it becomes the big secret. We just did a video all about secrets and how dangerous keeping some secrets is for your health and for you emotionally. And this is one of those ones that people keep for years.
Well, the sad thing is how it affects your life is you never really deal with the underlying problem that's causing the self-harm.
Right. And in the meantime, usually you start to isolate more because, as you keep cutting and as you keep going through it, you become more and more depressed, and it becomes harder and harder to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel or things getting better. And so that means that you put distances between you and family, you and friendships, and it's hard to be fully present for a friend or be a part of a relationship with someone when you're drowning in your own emotional pain. And this is a time in your life when more than ever you need people surrounding you, giving you support, and yet you're pushing away and distancing yourself. These are our thoughts about self-harm. If you have some ideas about your own experience or about things that you've been through regarding this topic, we'd love to hear it. You can email us at hollycharisse@yahoo.com. You can leave a comment. You can check us out on Facebook. And we would just love to hear whatever it is that you have to share. And we hope that if you're trapped in this, that you'll reach out and get the help you really deserve, because this is not what your life was meant to be, and we want good things for you, and so we hope that you'll confide in someone and get the help you need.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks. I'm Holly.
I'm Charisse.